right, by applause, who else just put Get Stoned with Maisie Hoy on their life to-do list? By applause. Yeah. Yeah. Is tonight the night? Let's find out. Now, so this award show, as you know, was supposed to take place in early January. It was supposed to be the first, one of the first award shows of the season. It is now the last. I just had an emergency meeting with LAPD backstage, and they wanted me to announce this. It goes into effect tomorrow. As of tomorrow, if you make a holding space and finding joy joke, you will be jailed. We had some fun with it, didn't we? But the grace period is over. You have until midnight. You have until midnight, so have fun with it. This is very exciting. It's not often I get to introduce a legit legend. He has been an award-winning director of many hit films, including the iconic movie Ray and so many more. Here to present the Lifetime Achievement Award, please welcome Taylor Hackford.
Well, it's a major pleasure for me to be here with this group of collaborators. We directors, of course, receive a huge amount of film buy, but let's be honest, this is a collaboration of many, many people. And a director is gifted when they have a gifted editor. You spend more time with your editor than probably any other collaborator. And I've been incredibly fortunate to have worked with some of your greatest members. I'm just going to give you a list of the people that I've worked with in my career. Neil Travis and Artie Schmidt. Peter Zinner and Priscilla Ned. Fritz Steinkamp 3 times. Don Zimmerman. Shelley Kahn twice. Lisa Day. Mark Warner 3 times. Paul Hirsch 3 times. Somebody named Bill Reynolds, ever heard of him? Frank Warner, Per Hallberg and Karen Baker, and Kurt Sobel. Now, of that group, 10 of them are Oscar winners. And that, that says something, If you want to be the best, you got to work with the best. And I look at films. I look at what you do, and I look how a film flows and how it speaks. And I go after those people. I call them cold. I said, I want to work with you. I want to tell you something. And by the way, just one other thing. We always talk about women in this business. Many of those editors were trained by Maggie Booth. So, this is a woman who was a legend and in your profession was the mentor of so many people. I'm going to tell you, the only thing I think really works here instead of telling laudatory things is to basically tell you personal experience. I've worked with all those people. Mark Warner, who I was working with as my editor, came to me and said, I'm moving to Australia. I want to move my family there. And you've worked with somebody there like your family, going, well, what am I going to do? Well, good luck. And I looked around. I was making a film in Louisiana called Ray. And I was going to be leaving, and I looked around, and I found a young editor who had worked with a very, very good director who I knew, called the director. He recommended the editor, and I hired him. And I went down to Louisiana, and I started shooting Ray. Unfortunately for this young person, he came to the set one day crying and said, my father just had a severe stroke. I'm the head of my family. Everybody else, my mother and my young siblings are completely lost. I've got to fly to Washington and try to deal with the tragedy. And I said, go. He went for the 3 or 4 days, came back, went back to work. I'm shooting, he's cutting. And he came to the set a week later, said, my father has having a heart attack. I said, go. A week later, his father died. And I'm now 2 months into the film. And I realized that his mind is not there. He is not focused. He's had a huge tragedy in his life. So I said, listen, you shouldn't be here. You should go deal with your family because they're bereft, and this is a horrible situation. But I'm now 2 months into a film. I've got to find an editor. And I want to mention, we all work with people. There was a post-production supervisor at Crusader Entertainment named Bill Brown. And he said, I've looked around and I'm going to send you a guy you don't know named Paul Hirsch. And, I looked up his credits, and of course, he'd worked with great people, Brian De Palma, George Lucas, John Hughes, Herb Ross. He worked with great people. I knew the movies, the incredible sequence when they go downtown and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, watching, Footloose I knew he could deal with music, and I was making a music film. That incredible sequence of, oh yeah, and the secret of your success. And so they flew Paul Hirsch down on the weekend. I was shooting, and I had the weekend, and I had also looked at the footage, and unfortunately, my editor had not been focused. He was bereft. He was worried about his family, and my film was a mess. And I took Paul in. We got there. We went to the editing room on a Saturday. I showed him the footage, and I said, "Listen, this does not work. I know what I shoot, and I know it'll cut together. So you have to take my word for it. This is not it." So we had dinner on Sunday night. I'd spent a lot of time talking to Paul. I liked him. He's curmudgeon, but he shoots straight. And we're there, and I said, so what do you think? He said, I like your films, and I think this could be a great film. I read the script. I'm coming in 2 months late. So I'll need 2 months after you finish shooting to catch up. I said, no. I'm not going to sit around for 2 months after I finish shooting. And he goes, well, what am I supposed to do? I would be cutting behind you daily. So I said, well, hire a second editor, and I'll give you a month. By the way, we negotiated back and forth. So I'd never in my life waited a month after I finished shooting before I got in the editing room. But you can imagine, and I got a call. I was shooting the next week, and Paul was in LA looking at the footage, and he said, listen, I've been looking at your footage, and it's speaking to me. And I went, yeah, I sure as hell hope so. And anyway, after the month went by, it was time for the editor's assembly. I go into the editing room, and I got to tell you, I'm like, because now, what am I going to do if this doesn't work? And I'm beside myself, and I'm sitting there tense as a board, and he hits a button, and the picture starts to roll. And it took me about 45 seconds, and I went, because a master had taken my footage, knew what to do with it, and put it together in a fabulous way. That's what you do, and we receive the benefit of it. So I'm thrilled to be here tonight to celebrate my friend and a great, great editor, Paul Hirsch, and let's look at his work.
Or do not. There is no try.
great.
Lunch. I want breakfast.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm really sorry.
Hey, I'm really sorry, too.
In America, we have the freedom of speech, the right to disagree. Let's dance!
Now I gotta cut loose, kicked off my Sunday shoes. Please, Louise, pull me up on my knees. Jack, get back, come on before we crack. Lose, don't lose, everybody clap loose.
What would you do if you knew you had less than a minute to live?
I'd make those seconds count.
Who's Captain? Remember back. Who bombed the train?
I don't know who bombed the goddamn train.
Paulito, come up here.
Thank you very much for this honor. How about that, Maisie Hoy? Maisie, you're a hard act to follow. This has been a challenging year. It seems a bit off to be celebrating when so many people are mourning. But I'm pleased to be part of this fundraiser tonight to help out the many members of our community struggling through this disaster. My heart goes out to my friends and neighbors who have lost their homes, all their possessions, with all the mementos of their lives. Luckily, memories can't be destroyed. My memories are of the great directors I worked for, the brilliant actors, DPs, production designers and composers I met, the hardworking assistants and post crews I was a part of for so many years. It's a privilege and can be a joy to be a picture editor. It's an engrossing and challenging job, and I can hardly believe I got to work on so many memorable films. Thank you, Taylor, for so graciously introducing me tonight. 20 years ago, Taylor and I were both Oscar nominated for Ray. My work on Ray, that year was rewarded with an Eddie, which makes it very special to me. A special shout out to Brian De Palma, who hired me on 5 feature films before anyone else took a chance on me. We wound up working on 11 pictures together. I was 23 on our first film, and I knew next to nothing. I learned a lot on those early films. Brian challenged me, he empowered me, and helped me grow as an editor. So thank you, Brian. He also introduced me to George and Marshall Lucas, who invited me to come work on Star Wars with them and Richard Chew. What a lucky break that was. They welcomed me and Jane to California in the most generous way imaginable. I will never forget the kindness they showed us. Working on the Star Wars films was a blast, even before we knew how they would explode into the world. So, thank you, George, for the ride of my life. I feel especially grateful to my wife, Jane. When Star Wars, now known as A New Hope, won the Oscar for editing, I neglected to thank her, and it became a running gag with my family and friends. I used to tell them that whenever we watched the Oscars from then on, and one of the winners thanked his or her spouse, I'd get an elbow in the ribs. For the record, that never actually happened. In fact, Jane never felt that she deserved to be thanked. But tonight, I am thanking you, honey, for your love, your support, and your companionship over the 50 years we have been happily married. I want to thank my friends and family who traveled great distances to be here with me tonight. I didn't insist, but you did, and I love you all. I'm profoundly grateful for this exceptional tribute tonight. I thank our organization, the American Cinema Editors, which has worked hard for 75 years to advance the prestige and dignity of the editing profession, promoting respect for what we do and who we are. We are artists. We don't start with a blank page or canvas, but we are artists, like actors, musicians, or dancers, putting our own individual spin on the task at hand. We make choices about what angle to use, which take is best, when to cut in, when to cut out, what the best order is, all to wring laughs, chills, or tears out of the audience. There are no rules. There are no markers on the material saying cut here. We rely solely on our intuition. Our careers are built on our inventiveness, our imagination, and our gut. Now, at the end of my 8th decade, I marvel at how quickly these years have gone by. As a dear sound editor friend of mine used to say, that reel goes whipping around really fast when you get down to the nub. I could go on, but shorter is better. Thank you.